flash and go away. We can't afford that second possibility. And so I, as your mayor, and I know each one of you listening tonight, are committed to making sure this moment isn't just a moment. It is a movement to change who we are in America when it comes to Black America and our criminal justice system. We need to make a firm commitment to change, not just with words, but with actions. And last night I said I would come before you and do just that. It's a work in progress, and each night demands more. But tonight I look forward to sharing with you the commitments I am making, that our city council is making, that our police commission is making, to everybody on the streets right now saying when, how, what. The when is now. The how is together. And the what is racial equality, not just in our criminal justice system, but throughout our country, here in the United States of America. We need to make sure that Black Americans see an end to the days of murder in broad daylight and of traffic stops simply because of the color of their skin. If you have seen the massive, peaceful demonstrations in our city today, or if you were in one of them, then you know that it is time to move our rhetoric towards actions to end racism in our society, to never forget also our city's own well-documented contributions to those ill-fated chapters. The struggle that we've had and those who've come before us to fight for more equality in their generation, to not dismiss that progress, but to see it and ask for our generation to step up and do the same. We must move beyond reforms that we put in place in our police department, and unfortunately that haven't been done in too many police departments across America. Whether it's being the first big city police department in America to put body-worn video cameras on our officers, releasing videos to the public that keep everybody accountable and that can tell the truth, hiring the most diverse and representative police department of any major city in the United States, and mandating, when nobody else was doing this, implicit bias training that gets to the heart of prejudice in each one of us, whether we wear a badge or not, because prejudice can never be a part of police work. The way we need to institute de-escalation training, not just once, but ongoing. And as we've done here, reward it just as we do medals of valor for bravery. It takes bravery to save lives, too. Because not every encounter or confrontation should result in a use of force. We need to keep moving towards a new model of peace officers, of a guardian-based system, of how we keep our communities safe, and invest long before any criminal activity ever comes to prevent it from happening in the first place, by developing long-term relationships between our youth and our police departments, like we do where formerly incarcerated Angelenos today work with officers to invest in young people through programs like Summer Nightlights and our gang reduction and youth development programs, which have grown by 50% thanks to the advocacy that we hear in the streets right now. I'm proud of these changes. We should all embrace that progress, changes that align with the call to action that our previous president put out to America in the face of too many deaths, with a commission we participated in on 21st century policing. Now we hear calls from Washington leadership to go back to 20th or 19th century policing, to get tough, to dominate, to not worry about people's heads, to dehumanize them as you put them into squad cars. This not only does not save lives, it costs lives. But it was my brother's keeper, and the work that was in President Obama's Commission on 21st Century Policing that brought activists and mayors and city councils and police oversights together to address the use of force policies. And today, President Obama challenged mayors to sign that pledge, to look even today, no matter what you've done well in the past, to recognize that there are things that are still not right in the present. And I was proud to be one of the first mayors in America to sign that pledge. Thank you, President Obama. I also want to say that I'm so grateful. Departments aren't made up of numbers and statistics, but men and women. And there are men and women of our police department right now who are working 12 12-hour shifts, leading with their hearts every single day. There needs to be even more of that heart and love and compassion. And to those who are protesting, thank you. I'm listening. I hear those voices, and more importantly, we're working together on the actions that will make sure that those voices and those calls don't land flat, but that result in the changes we all need. This is bigger than just a budget, but I want you to know we will not be increasing our police budget. How can we at this moment? We have heroes who wear a uniform. I wore a uniform for 12 years in the Navy. And whether it's them or members of our National Guard who are here today, I know that they all would much rather be home. That they all want a moment in which the pain of this country goes away. And I know that the vast, overwhelming majority of them are ready to work to do that. To take the classes, to learn the training, to go inward. And as we've seen so many pictures that don't dominate the news, but the hugs given, the knees taken, the relationships opened up, and the dialogues that have happened, even as we have to hold ourselves accountable for everything on the street, whether we're the everyday public or our peace officers. In fact, tonight, I want to announce that we aren't just putting the work of moving forward on the shoulders of activists or of African Americans or police officers. It's on those of us who you have elected to represent you to step up to this moment. I've been working very hard with the City Council, and we've been meeting with community groups and coalitions like the one that I told you I just came from, that represents so many amazing organizations, from the LA Black Workers Center to the Community Coalition, to unions like the Service Employees Union International, to folks who stock the shelves at our grocery stores, and teachers who teach our children every single day, to folks in the immigrant rights community and the east side of the city and the south end of LA, who came together to challenge us in very raw and in angry terms, because this is a moment for us all to be angry and sad, of whether our city council and I would commit to reinvesting in black communities and communities of color in those places left behind. A lot of people listening who might not know the statistics, many of which I shared last night, might not know that in America, the average white household has $171,000 of average household wealth, while in the black community that's $17,000. May not know that you're more likely, as I mentioned, to be homeless, to be incarcerated, to be sick, to be dying from COVID-19 if you're black in America. That we don't all start from an equal standpoint, and not only do we not start from, then on day one, because of the color of our skin, we don't have the same experience and treatment, whether that's from law enforcement, your own government, your health system, and so many other places. So today, with our city council, with Council President Nuri Martinez, with council members Herb Wesson, Marquise Harris Dawson, and Curran Price, and so many other members of the council, from Mike Bonin to Mitch O'Farrell and others, we have all said we have to do something different. We hear what people are saying. And so I have instructed and committed to, in public to that group, that our city, through our city administrative officer, identified $250 million in cuts so we could invest in jobs, in health, in education, and in healing. And that those dollars need to be focused on our black community here in Los Angeles, as well as communities of color and women and people who have been left behind for too long. And will this involve cuts? Yes, of course, to every department, including the police department, because we all have to be a part of this solution together. We all have to step up and say, what can we sacrifice? We've done that as elected officials, putting that back in the pot ourselves. We've done that as civilian employees, putting that back in the pot ourselves. We've made cuts because of COVID-19. It's time to also make cuts because racial justice is something worth fighting for. and something worth sacrificing for. And I want you to know that where we are spending, as we are spending, we will also be making changes and investments that can lead to structural reform, not just one-off payments for this moment, but a rethinking of how we can build on the successes of the past, but go much further than the present. One of our most important protections for our residents is that we have civilian oversight of our police department. 5 Angelenos, appointed by me, confirmed by our city council, all of them unpaid volunteers, and trust me, they all have separate full-time jobs, and this is like having a second job, often away from family, in the face of great anger, difficult issues. They serve all of us. They look at the policies that guide our police department. They oversee its operations, and they review all officer-involved shootings. And every Tuesday, as we saw yesterday, the commission and the police chief hold a meeting, a public meeting, where residents are given the opportunity to speak directly to the entire leadership of the department. I appointed these commissioners because I know who they are as human beings. They have sharp minds, but more importantly, they have hearts for justice. And they hold a common commitment to building a better, more just, and safer city. So tonight I can also announce important changes coming from the commission that this moment demands, calls for. Changes that build on our historic reforms at other painful moments. Changes that address what we are hearing from you. We will put a moratorium on putting people in the Cal Gang database. Require officers to intervene when they see inappropriate use of force. To always report misconduct. And we will invest in young people through community services and youth development that will change lives so that we can keep people away from any criminal justice system. We will increase departmental training, as we've already started, but need to do more in implicit bias and increase discipline against inappropriate action. These things will strengthen accountability. As many people have said, nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. We have to make sure that there is no culture of silence, that there is no culture of acquiescence, that there is no culture of being a bystander. There is only right and wrong on our streets and the streets across America. It's just a start. And I know in a single night, it's never enough. We can't walk to the promised land in a single day, nor a single week. But we better get ready. And I know not everyone is going to be happy with each step. There is criticism from all sides when we change any of the status quo. But my commitment is to always push forward. This is a moment we have to look back in 20 years from now and say we did the right thing. As police officers, as public officials, and as the public, that we rose to this occasion to say we could do this together, better, different, stronger. And why? Because we believe that all lives are sacred. As we've shown during our COVID-19 fight, we need to show that in an even tougher moment demanding more of each one of us, starting with me. So to talk about the changes from the Commission, I'd like to ask the Commission President, Eileen Decker, to say some words. And then I'll come back, give some news about tonight's curfews and moving forward, what we can do to help our city. President Decker.